Okay, so I've been doing stencils for a while now, and when I'm doing them, they usually have a pattern that doesn't overlap. But I got out this old stencil that I've had forever from Plaid, and it had some birds on it. And I started drawing the birds across the first row, and then I went to the second row, and I went, okay, wait, we got a problem here. They're going to overlap, or I got to space them really far apart, and I didn't want to. So we're going to try something. We're going to do an experiment. I'm going to do the first row in this light blue, obviously. Second row, and then the third row, and hoping that the opacity of these Kuretake paints, this is part of the Art Nouveau set, is going to give this little ombre effect, because the opacity will cover up the previous color. So I've already wet these a little bit, and we'll see if we get going here and see if this little experiment is a boon or a bust. Because your brain goes, well, I want to paint something other than an obvious pattern. And this is a way to use a shape that you love, like a bluebird. Well, I'm making it a bluebird. And still make it work. Now, I may want to make it dry between layers. Between rows, I should say. Or I may not. And this is the question. And I don't have an answer yet. And I think I'm just going to paint all of... The other thing is, do I go ahead and paint where I know the tail is going to be? Or do I stop short? See, like that's where the bird stops, but the tail goes down. Do I? Don't I? I think I stop short. I think I do. I think I can always go back and add it, right? Because these watercolor gouache-like paints, if it reactivates, it might look bizarro. I don't know. Or maybe it looks cool. That's just the thing. You don't know until you play with it. And I'm not being precious with it. This is in my same sketchbook that I got from Five and Below for, I think, $3. It's like a 5x7 size. It's cellulose paper. It's nothing spectacular, but yet it's fun to play in because it's super smooth. And normally... I don't like super smooth paper, but this time I'm liking it. This, for these play sessions, I'm liking it a lot. Especially in this size book. And it's 5x7 is nice, you can get a little creative play in without it being a big time suck. This may have taken me 5 minutes to draw out this pattern. I was not terribly precious with it. I was not terribly delicate. Closest to the pen kind of attitude. The biggest thing is just I want it to look like birds when I'm done. That would be good. And that gives me a chance to let me play with these paints, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. Whoopsie. Sent them flying. I'm thoroughly enjoying getting acquainted with these colors. Oh, I should have told you the colors. This one's pale aqua. The middle one is ultramarine cobalt. And this one is grayish blue. And I just spilt that all over my table. And that makes me mad when I do that. I'll clean that up in just a second. Should have shown you the colors before I put water in them. That'd have been smart. Nobody ever claimed me of being that. Or accused me of being that. Just kidding. Self-deprecating humor is not funny to everybody. Okay. These patterns are fun. Maybe when I'm done, I doodle on them with a white gel pen or something. Put some spring flowers on them. Or some of those patterns like from the Netherlands, those plate patterns. The I can't think of it. Like the Pyrex plates, but more Up to date? Ah. Somebody help me out here. You know what I'm talking about. Like the folk art patterns. I don't know. Anyway, we're just painting some bluebirds. Bluebird, smiling at me. No, it's not that song. I know. I redid the words. I know my Gershwin. Okay. Alright, coming to the end of the light blue, pale aqua, as Kiritaki calls it. Really like this color. It is a little flat, but because it's and there's no granulation or what have you, but they're fun. They are vibrant. Okay, now this one I can paint the tail. Probably could have done another row, but I just decided to cut it short because I think I wanted to see a row of that bird, this bluebird with its tail, this light bluebird with its tail exposed and painted and not tucked behind the next row of birds. Okay, I do believe that does it. All right, now the question is, do we go forward? I think we do. I think we just keep going. Let's just see. And if it bleeds, it bleeds. I think it's kind of my feeling at this point. It could make it kind of cool, actually. And I've made them get real close to each other, so they might actually bleed. But in this case, they're going to be the same color because each row. I didn't know what I was going to do exactly when I was first stenciling this out, because I was like, well, what the heck? And I was trying to make them, you know, all touch in a couple points so that there would be a chance for the colors to blend and play with each other. But as it turns out, I think it's only going to give it a chance to play with its same color. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. All right. So now I'm going over the the tail by doing. But the tail's going to be visible in the paint. Well, all right. Whatever. Oh, these are fun though. I'm using my Escoda 10, if anybody wants to know. It's probably a little big for this job, but Live boldly. Okay, so it's touching there. I don't know if you can see that. But right there, there's a little bit of feathering happening just faintly. Okay, well, moving on. Should I tip it to make or tip it to go that way? I don't think it matters. All right, let's see if we can force that a little bit more. Let me add a little more water. I wouldn't mind that kind of blending a little bit. I think that'd be kind of fun. Ooh, it's super watery. Mind the paint. Hmm. Okay. Don't think it did squat there. Well, we're not going to force it. We're just going to let it do what it's going to do. But this is a fun way to take a shape that doesn't lend itself to a pattern and make one. I was trying to think of what I wanted to work on next, and pattern-wise. And I was kind of going through my stencils, and I came across the birds, and I thought, oh, cute. And I thought, well, that's not a great, doesn't lend itself to a pattern. But then I thought, well, you just play around and see what we come up with. And here's where we are. It's almost like negative space painting, but it's not. And it's clearly not a very precise pattern, because some of these I have the wing tucked and others the wing is out. Like this one, the wing is out. That's what makes art interesting, right? Not the perfection of it, but the imperfection, I suppose. Yeah, I like this color. Last middle blue, we'll call her Jan Brady, the middle child. I can say that because I'm an oldest. We love to abuse our middle children, don't we? I'm kidding. Kinda. Those were all blended together there, but oh well. Okay. Just wiping my brush off on my pad. No pigment wasted. Okay. Now let's go into this little bad boy, this bluish gray, grayish blue, whatever. Yeah, I think I'm going to do those little white, like dot patterns. Almost like a Pasanki egg for these birds once they dry. I think that'll be fun. And each of the birds might get a different pattern. I don't know, that might be more than I want to bite off. But these birds are all going to have their tails showing. Or the first two only had it show at the bottom. This may be a complete fail, but I think it's going to be cute. I fail in terms of what I saw in my head, is what I mean. Ugh, I don't have a good place to put my arm. Wah. These colors sure are pretty. The Art Nouveau set is particularly gorgeous. I had some of the original sets, and I need to go swatch those out. Not need to, I want to. Because when I first got them, I swatched them into the box they came into. But then I quickly decided that boxes are not my favorite way to store them. Although I keep my Art Nouveaux right now in their box just because I want the set together while I'm still getting used to them and getting accustomed to them. But then as soon as they are kind of in my head as a set, how they go together or whatever, they'll be incorporated into the main stack of my other Kuritakis. But I'm going to swatch out the rest of those, because I have several other sets. I've done the graphites, but just the regular run-of-the-mill standard 36 or 48 or whatever that was. I'm babbling now, but you get the idea. Okay, let's try doing the wing, the tail rather, pulling. Yeah, that's easier. Pulling is always easier for me. I think most people find that to be true also. So if you struggle with getting a steady line, try pulling instead of pushing. That helps me a lot. And then I'll pull here. And it's just a little bitty spot. It just helps. And then I'll turn, and then I'll pull. Without lifting, I'll just try to get it all the way down to the end. Well, maybe I will lift. Just kidding. That turns out really well when you do that, and you can always go back and charge, which means to add more pigment back to the spot where you just pulled, just in case it got a little thin on the ground. All right, so let's turn it this way and let's pull again. Let's start at the end of the tail. And for you veterans, don't roll your eyes at me. Just helping out newbies that are still learning. And then go around that little hook. And then put down some pressure and just pull. When you get close, just like when you're first learning how to drive, put on the brakes. Put on the brakes early. It's good. Otherwise, just like the stop sign, you overrun. Oops, like that. I just overran. Dang it. Well, his nose is going to go out a bit further. His beak, I should say. That's what you call improvising in the moment. You always know when my son's home because you hear all across the house, bro. Because of course he's gaming. And he's on a headset. He doesn't know how loud he is, but that's okay. We love him anyway. Bro. That little hook you do is tricky, ain't it? So I encourage you to pull out the stencils you've got that you've used for other things. Maybe it's a mandala. Maybe it's a vine. Maybe it's an Easter bunny. And then just grab some paper, a notebook, copy your paper, whatever. A sketchbook, and then just see if you can slap down some lines and make a little pattern that makes you happy. Maybe it overlaps like this one and feels kind of dumb until you paint it, and then you go, oh, that's not so bad. Or maybe you space it apart and put a bunch of gaps between them so they look like they're all just sitting on a little tree branch. That's good too. I just thought because this paper was so small, if I spread them out, it'd only be like 2 per line, and I really wanted to But in a bigger book, I might appreciate them being spread out and not touching. Adding a little more water. And if you don't get the beak just right, draw a new one. He's the red-headed stepchild. I can say that because my son's a redhead. But he's not a stepchild. He's just mine. He's my Ginger. Or we call him Gingy. Or if you want to get real personal, we call him Glass Boy Pinky Gingerman, but that's another story. Okay, last one. Yeah, I'm liking this ombre. It's vibrant. It's a bit more bright. It's brighter than my normal palette. I was very tempted to pull out the graphites again. I was like, y'all are going to be sick to death of these graphites if I keep pulling them out. Because there just comes a point where you just go, enough with the graphite. So I went more standard. Or at least less, what's the word? Less grungy. I'm a grungy girl. All right. That's going to do it this time for these birds. Birds of a feather who aren't flocking together. I got water all over my desktop, but that's okay. It'll dry. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for joining me again. Try out some stencils and some paint. Why don't you? Let us know how you make out. Thanks for stopping by. See you soon. Bye.